welcome to Tyrone Bowman Live. Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has resigned. I'm going to talk about it on tonight. And so, what's next for Canada after Trudeau's resignation? According to the Washington Post, that is the headline on tonight. Once again, welcome to Tyrone Bowman Live, the program that brings you analysis, commentary about today's latest news headlines. So let's get started here, coming out of Toronto. According to the Washington Post, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation Monday, saying that it's time for a reset and that he is not the best person to lead the country into new elections if he is also fighting internal battles, quote unquote. So what exactly is going on with the current Prime Minister of Canada that he has abruptly resigned? Trudeau, who rose to power in 2015 on promise of sunny ways and was viewed around the world as a standard bearer of liberalism and progressive politics, said he would continue to serve as Prime Minister until his successor is chosen. The announcement came after a caucus revolt that kicked into high gear after Chrystia Freeland, his deputy prime minister and finance minister, resigned for the cabinet last month, issuing a resignation letter that raised questions about Trudeau's leadership. Trudeau, the son of former Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau, rose to power in 2015 and won re-election in 2019 and 2021. But his popularity has long been waning, and it is rare in Canada or Canadian politics for a prime minister to rack up 4 election wins in a row. Trudeau's Liberal trail Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives by more than 20 points in the polls, so they're trailing, and it will be difficult. It will be a difficult feat for any successor to close that gap before a federal election that must be held by October, but could come sooner. So it's very much from sunny ways to the haze and dust of the detritus and rubble that is left after 10 years of Justin Trudeau's helming of the Liberal Party, said Shachai Curl, president of the Angus Reid Institute, a pollster. So here's what you need to know. Why did Trudeau resign? Trudeau's popularity has long been declining. Like many incumbent leaders in the West after the pandemic, he has struggled amid voter dissatisfaction over the high cost of goods, high interest rates, a nationwide housing shortage, and soaring views on immigration. Wow. Poilievre, a populist firebrand, has also emerged as a formidable political rival. He has blamed the government for the country's economic woes and offered simple slogans like axe the carbon tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. But it was Freeland's resignation that touched off Trudeau's decision to step down. Freeland, a former journalist, was one of his most loyal lieutenants and in charge of so many important files here that she was nicknamed the Minister of Everything, quote, close quote. She said that Trudeau had fired her as finance minister and offered her a new cabinet role, but that she viewed it as a demotion and resigned. She also said she was insufficiently prepared for the Trump administration. I thank Justin Trudeau for his years of service to Canada and Canadians, Freeland said Monday in a post on X. I wish him and his family the very best. So what happens next? Trudeau said Monday that the Liberal Party will hold a nationwide leadership contest to select his successor. Cite Myra, president of the Liberal Party, said on X that the National Board will meet this week to begin that process. In the meantime, Trudeau added a Governor General, Mary Simon, the representative in Canada of King Charles III, Canada's head of state, and granted his request to prorogue or suspend Parliament until March 24. A new session of Parliament will open with a speech from the throne, which sets out the government's agenda. The speech is typically put to a vote that the government must win to stay in power. What was the possible contenders, or who are the possible contenders to succeed Trudeau? They include Finance Minister Dominique LeBlanc, Foreign Minister Melanie Joly, uh, wow, Innovation Minister Franciscos Felipe, Champagne, and Freeland. There are also several possible outsiders who might be mulling a run. Christy Clark, a former premier of a British Columbia, and Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. What challenges will Trudeau's successor face? The next leader will inherit a long list of challenges: the high price of goods, a housing shortage, a Canadian public that appears to have soared on the Liberals after nearly a decade in power, and a new U.S. president who has promised steep tariffs, taxation. But Trudeau's successor might not be prime minister for long, and one of the most immediate challenges would be fighting a new election. Trudeau leads a minority government dependent on the support of opposition parties to stay in power and pass legislation. Several have said that they plan to bring the government down when a new session of parliament begins, triggering new elections. Yves Franciscos Blanchet, leader of the separatist bloc Quebecist party, said Monday that an election should be held sooner rather than later. There's no significant difference between the Liberal Party that we know and the Liberal Party that will be presented to us after there is a new leader, he said. Sounds like there's going to be a change in government, more of a conservative party coming into power with the focus on deportation. What does this mean for the United States and Canada relations? Bilateral ties suffered during Trump's first administration but improved under President Joe Biden. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Monday afternoon praised Trudeau as a stalwart friend of the United States. Many economists and former government officials in Canada review President-elect Donald Trump as an existential threat, and analysts say that the political upheaval in Ottawa has left the country preoccupied with domestic matters weeks before his return. Trump has threatened to impose 25% tariffs or taxation on Canadian goods on day one if Canada does not curb what he calls an invasion of drugs and migrants. Such levies would deal a devastating blow to Canada's economy, potentially plunging the country into a recession. Let me go back to this coded language here for a moment. Drugs and migrants, black and brown people, drug addicts, drug dealers. That's exactly what that means. On this program, I cut straight to the chase. I don't play with it. I'm intelligent enough to read through coded verbiage. There is little data to substantiate Trump's claims of an invasion. Just 1.5% of migrants apprehended by U.S. Customs and Border Protection and 0.2% of fentanyl seized at U.S. land borders in the most recent fiscal year came from Canada. LeBlanc and Joly presented a plan to the incoming administration to tighten the border, but there is no sign Trump will relent. Trump's repeated complaints about the U.S. trade deficit with Canada have fueled fears that his border complaints are a pretense for the levies or the taxation. An additional uncertainty is whether members of Trudeau's cabinet will have to resign from their roles if they run to replace him. That could deprive Canada of several officials who have sought to make inroads with Trump's team. Trump has also been taunting Trudeau, calling him the governor of the 51st state of Canada. Canadian officials have sought to dismiss the taunts as jokes, but others here view them as a threat to Canada's sovereignty, and have found the government's response thus far to be lacking. I'll just say this in closing. For those of you who are considering going into politics, be bold, be courageous, and stop being weak. People want strong leaders. They want compassionate leaders, but they want strong leaders. They want leaders who are sympathetic to their cause, but they want strong leaders. They want leaders that will rule justly and evenly across the board, with everyone and everybody, but they still want strong leadership. Thank you for watching. Never surrender, never quit.